A reading from the Acts of the Apostles. And when they had evangelized that city and had taught many, they returned again to Lystra and Iconium and Antioch, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that it is necessary for us to enter into the kingdom of God through many tribulations. And when they had established priests for them in every church and had prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord, in whom they believed. And traveling through Pisidia, they arrived in Pamphylia, and having spoken the word of the Lord in Perga, they went down to Attalia. And from there they sailed to Antioch, where they had been commended to the grace of God for the work which they had now accomplished. And when they had arrived and had gathered the church together, they reported what great things God had done with them, and how he had opened a door of faith to the Gentiles.
God will praise your name forever, my King and my God. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness. The Lord is good to all and compassionate toward all his works. I will praise your name forever, my King and my God. Let all your works give you thanks, O Lord, and let your faithful ones bless you. Let them discourse of the glory of your kingdom and speak of your might. I will praise your name forever, my King and my God. Let them make known your might to the children of Adam, and the glorious splendor of your kingdom. Your kingdom is a kingdom for all ages, and your dominion endures through all generations. I will praise your name forever, my King, my
A reading from the book of Revelation. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and the sea was no more. And I, John, saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice from the throne, saying, Behold the tabernacle of God with men, and he will dwell with them. And they will be his people, and God himself with them will be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, nor mourning, nor crying, nor sorrow shall be any more, for the former things have passed away. And the one who was seated upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Then when he had gone out, Jesus said, Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and he will glorify him immediately. Little children, I am with you for a brief time. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, so also you should love one another. By this all shall know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Join us for today's reflection. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Across cultures, professions have their identifying marks. Doctors take the Hippocratic Oath, lawyers pass the bar, artists develop distinctive styles, Politicians craft memorable slogans. Even criminal organizations have initiation rituals and identifying symbols. Jesus cuts through all of this with disarming clarity, not theological precision, not ritual performance. Not moral perfection, not institutional affiliation. Love, but not just any love, love that mirrors his own. This statement comes at one of the most pivotal moments in Jesus' ministry. Hours before his arrest, with betrayal already set in motion, he distills everything into this singular mark of authentic discipleship. The implications are revolutionary. In the ancient world, religious identity was marked by separation and distinction. Groups defined themselves by who they excluded, what they didn't eat, which days they observed, how they dressed. Jesus establishes something radically different, a community identified by how they treat each other. This wasn't sentimentality. This was a complete reframing of religious identity in a world of rigid boundaries. What began in an upper room would spread through Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and eventually throughout the Roman Empire. Acts 14 shows exactly what this love looked like in practice. Paul and Barnabas complete their first missionary journey, having faced both violent persecution and enthusiastic reception. They don't simply plant churches and move on. They retrace their steps to strengthen these fledgling communities. Their message combines brutal honesty with grounded hope. It is through many persecutions that we must enter the kingdom of God. No prosperity gospel here. No false promises of comfort. Just truth about the cost, coupled with practical support through appointed leadership. Then they returned to Antioch to celebrate how God had opened a door of faith for the Gentiles. The significance cannot be overstated. What began as a Jewish renewal movement had burst through ethnic and cultural boundaries. This is what Christ-like love looks like: honesty without abandonment, tradition without exclusion, suffering without despair, boundaries without barriers. The psalmist anticipated this expansive vision. The Lord is good to all and compassionate toward all his works. Not some works, all works. Divine compassion extends beyond comfortable boundaries, beyond tribal identities, beyond familiar communities. In ancient societies where gods were typically associated with particular lands, peoples, or natural forces, this universal vision was extraordinary. The God of Israel was revealing himself as the God of all creation, whose dominion endures through all generations. Revelation takes this even further. I saw a new heaven and a new earth. This isn't about abandoning a sinking ship. It's about transformation so complete that death itself is undone. God will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more. Notice what God doesn't do. He doesn't discard creation. He makes it new. The New Jerusalem descends from heaven to earth, heaven coming down rather than souls escaping upward. God establishes dwelling among mortals, bringing divine life into human experience rather than extracting select humans from earthly existence. This is God's signature move, not destroying what's broken but making it new. Which brings us back to Jesus' command: love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. What makes this new isn't the call to love. The Hebrew scriptures already commanded that. What's new is the standard: as I have loved you. What does this look like? It looks like washing feet when you're supposed to be in charge. It looks like breaking bread with those society has rejected. It looks like speaking truth to power while touching lepers. It looks like forgiveness offered before it's even requested. It looks like laying down your life. Roman society was stratified by rigid hierarchies. Slaves and masters didn't share meals. Men and women didn't share authority. Different ethnic groups didn't share resources. Yet early Christian communities did all of these things, creating such a stark contrast that pagan observers remarked with astonishment. See how they love one another. When historians examine why Christianity spread so rapidly through the Roman Empire despite persecution, they point to several factors: care for the sick during plagues when others fled, rescue of abandoned infants, dignity given to women and slaves, support for widows and orphans. In other words, love that reflected Jesus' own. 2,000 years later, we're still asking what makes a real Christian: biblical knowledge, church attendance, political alignment, moral behavior. Jesus cuts through it all. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. When hospitals were founded to care for those society abandoned, this was Christianity's signature. When monastic communities preserved learning through dark ages, this was Christianity's signature. When civil rights leaders faced water cannons while singing hymns, this was Christianity's signature. When reconciliation occurs across seemingly unbridgeable divides, this is Christianity's signature. Not because Christians have perfected love, but because Christians follow the one who is perfect love incarnate. On a day-to-day level, Christ-like love is intensely practical. It means acknowledging struggles without abandoning hope, as Paul and Barnabas did. It means extending compassion beyond comfortable boundaries, as the psalmist envisions. It means committing to renewal rather than replacement, as Revelation portrays. It means laying down power and privilege for the sake of others, as Jesus demonstrated. The question isn't whether we've achieved this perfectly, but whether we're moving toward it consistently. As we journey through this Easter season, perhaps it's time to re-examine what distinguishes Christ's followers in this world. Not buildings, programs, or theological statements, but the quality of our love. Are communities of faith known primarily for what they stand against or who they stand with? Are Christians recognized more by judgment or by mercy? Are Christ followers identified by exclusion or by embrace? In a world increasingly defined by division, authentic Christ-reflecting love stands out like stars against a dark sky, not because it's perfect, but because it persists. Not because it's easy, but because it's transformative. See, I am making all things new, God declares in Revelation. This renewal begins with us, as Christ's love reshapes hearts, relationships, communities, and ultimately the world. In a culture where faith is often reduced to political alignment or moral checklist, love must be our signature. In a world desperate for authentic connection, love must be our signature. In the face of suffering, division, and despair, love, Christ's own love, flowing through his people, must be our unmistakable signature.